Hi, I'm Tom Eschen, and welcome to the award-winning Power and Politics podcast, the conversation about the issues that are impacting you the most, with the officials, with the advocates, everyone in between, holding them accountable along the way, too. Today, we continue our coverage of the government shutdown. Yes, it does continue, and we speak with the U.S. Travel Association about that. They have a counter on their website estimating how much travel spending has been lost since the shutdown began. So we talk about that. We talk about air traffic controllers, and also broadening that conversation to travel outside of just the government shutdown, and what policy, what funding needs to happen to make it better, more profitable for the country as a whole, and for you, and more affordable for you at the same time, too. Thanks as always for joining us, and you can always listen wherever you get your podcasts at Power and Politics. We're joined today by Erik Hansen. He's with the U.S. Travel Association, the head of government relations there, the senior vice president. Erik, really appreciate your time. Thanks for coming on and speak with us today.
Great to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll start with the counter, if you want to call it that, on the website that's showing people how much travel spending's been lost since the government shutdown began, now surpassing $3 billion this week. Can you tell me what goes into that number? That's $3 billion in travel spending lost.
That's right. It's $1 billion a week. We're losing money every hour that the shutdown goes on. It comes from a number of different things. Delays and cancellations that we've seen historically during a shutdown. We're modeling what it's costing us this time. It's due to government and federal workers not traveling, contractors not traveling, and historically, the largest purchaser of travel services anywhere in the country is the federal government. It's also from the closure of national parks, the Smithsonian, museums, which have a huge economic cost as well. And these are just piling up all across the country. And as you mentioned, more than $3 billion so far.
So that is money that people aren't giving to companies and putting into the economies that they are going to, that kind of a thing?
That's right. It's like ripping up $1 billion check a week, money that would be going to hotels, car rental companies, airlines, small businesses that are located around national parks. So it has a real impact on the people who depend on travel to put food on their table.
What kind of lasting impact does that have?
We're already short the number of air traffic controllers we need to operate our system efficiently and safely. And if you're looking for a career right now and you know that air traffic controllers are going unpaid, you might consider doing another line of work. If you are an air traffic controller and you're working 6 days a week already, and now you're working 6 days a week without pay, maybe it's going to be time for you to consider switching careers. So it can have a long-term impact on certainly the federal workforce. But we also have an air traffic control system that is run on floppy disks and technology that isn't made anymore. And we should be modernizing that. And every second that the government is closed is a second that we're losing in modernizing the system. So there's a huge cost to that as well.
Yeah, some of this goes beyond the shutdown, right? Some of the factors that were leading up to it. I did want to you mentioned the air traffic controller and some of the messaging out there today by Sean Duffy. As you mentioned, the air traffic controllers are about to miss their first paycheck soon. And he's saying he's not going to guarantee that a flight's going to be delayed or even canceled. You hear that. What is your reaction to quotes like that right now as we sit here, as we mentioned, 4 weeks in?
We're concerned. We know that safety is always going to be the top priority. And the reason you're going to see flight delays and cancellations is we have to slow down the system to keep it safe. But if we look at previous government shutdowns, there's no question that we're going to see an increase in flight delays and cancellations. So absolutely. And it doesn't matter if an air traffic control tower is understaffed in New Jersey, it could impact your flight to Chicago. People in Illinois could feel the impact of that. We have a national system. So when we've got this shutdown, there's going to be a national problem. And of course, there's going to be a lot of economic loss for the travel industry.
How does this compare, you mentioned the past, to 2019?
We are gearing up for what could be the longest shutdown in history. And we're just a few weeks away from the busiest travel season of the year, right before Thanksgiving. If we're shut down around that time, now we're talking about families who can't get home to their loved ones for Thanksgiving, people who can't gather. So it's not just about the economic cost. There's going to be a real social cost as well if we don't reopen the government soon.
And basically, the remedy here is just to get it reopened as quick as possible. That's probably the solution, right, at the end of the day, I'd imagine.
Travel should not be caught in the crossfire of political debates. And when the government shuts down and travel is heard. Oftentimes, that's put pressure on the government before. I don't think we're seeing as much pressure this time on Congress from a slowdown in travel. Maybe that will change right before Thanksgiving, but it's certainly something we can't accept as a regular course of business.
Is there any, I guess, will from people like you and organizations like yours to push for maybe changes during a shutdown? I know that there's been talks about the executive branch moving around funding for different areas of military, probably specifically more so than anything else. But I believe just the other day they said, well, we don't have the funds or the pools to be able to go fund air traffic controllers while this is going on. Anything there that you maybe could speak to in terms of trying to push for while something like this happens?
I mean, of course, we're going to support anything that reduces the pain of the government shutdown. But in the end, it's just a Band-Aid. We need the government to reopen. And that's got to be the priority. The more time Congress spends or the administration spends looking at these temporary fixes, the farther we're going to be away from the government reopening. That's the underlying problem. That's the thing that needs to be fixed.
So the shutdown's one thing. As we spoke earlier, some of these issues go beyond just this last stint, if you will, in terms of the issues and things that you want to see addressed. A recent forecast from the U.S. Travel Association showing a growth in travel spending, a decline in international inbound travel. Can you talk a little bit about that forecast and why that is the way it is when it comes to those that confluence of issues?
Well, right now, every major country is seeing their international travel levels grow. Well, the United States is actually in a decline, and we haven't recovered in visitation from where we were before COVID-19. We've got big opportunities next year to grow international travel for the World Cup, for America's 250th birthday celebration. It could be one of the most historic years for America's travel and tourism industry. We should be getting prepared for that rather than worrying about reopening the government and getting travel going again because of the shutdown.
What would make it better? How do you remedy some of those things?
Well, we've got to hand it to the Trump administration and to Secretary Noem for policies that they're already putting in place, like allowing Americans to keep their shoes on when they're going through TSA. With the right investments in place, we could actually allow Americans to carry on their water bottles through the checkpoint. We could have mothers who are traveling with their children carry breast milk through without the hassle of having to take it out of your bag and have it screened. So with technologies that improve screening, things like biometrics, we could get through the TSA process a lot faster. It'll make Americans a lot happier. And so we should be focused on those and not trying to reopen the government.
When it comes to the liquid issue, I was going to ask you about that. That was brought up by Kristi Noem a few months back of opening the door to that. That's something the U.S. Travel Association supports. What are the parameters? You spoke to them a little bit, but technology alongside that, you believe can help make that work moving forward. Is that right?
Absolutely. Technology is the key to increasing the limitation on liquids, to carrying your water bottle on. This is something they're doing now in Europe. More airports in Europe are allowing you to carry liquids on because they've invested in technology. The sad reality is that for every dollar that flyers pay in airport security funds, which are supposed to be reinvested back into the system, Congress takes 80 cents of that and uses it to fund things that have nothing to do with TSA. If we got that money back, we could have every American carrying larger liquids through the checkpoint safely and securely within the next 4 years. But Congress has got to make it a priority to invest in those improvements.
How do they make it a priority to incentivize international travel more? What has to happen there?
I'm not sure that a lot of people are aware, but if you want to come to the United States, you want to visit Walt Disney World, and you're from a country that requires a visa, you can sometimes wait between 200 to 300 days just to get an appointment for the opportunity to come to the United States. You're going to pay thousands of dollars in visa application fees. That's something Americans don't experience when traveling abroad. We often don't need a visa when we're traveling globally. So you've really got to have a passion about coming for the United States to go through that type of process. We should be making the visa process a lot smoother. The wait time should be lower if we want people to come here, see America, buy America, and leave with full hearts and empty wallets. It's good for our economy, but that's not the visa system we have today.
I know that here in New York and Vermont, they've seen declines in Canadian tourism specifically since the Trump administration took over in the last year. Does policy also play a part here when it comes to the border and some of the messaging that's out there right now?
Policy is part of the solution to get more people to come to the United States. Perception is another challenge. Policy can be easy to fix. Tariff you can take up, a tariff you can take down. perception and hearts and minds, it's a lot harder to change. So I think we've got to send a message to Canada that the United States values them as an international partner, as one of our closest allies. We want them to come back to the United States. We want to send more Americans to Canada. Travel is more about not just about the economy, it's also about a cultural exchange as well. And so we hope by sending that message that we want Canadians back, that eventually they'll start to come back in the numbers that they used to.
You mentioned the World Cup, America's anniversary, birthday, whatever you want to call it, but also we have the Olympics coming up here in a couple of years. How does the country get the most, especially when it comes to travel, out of those huge worldwide events?
We are about to host the largest sporting event in human history with the 2026 World Cup. America's 250th anniversary is another opportunity to see America and celebrate American culture. So we need to be doing everything that we can to get people into the United States safely and securely so they can witness these events, witness the America's greatness, spend their money, benefit our economy, and then leave again with full hearts and empty wallets. We're not there yet, but if we are able to lower some of those barriers to legal, lawful travel to the United States, it's really going to not just boost our economy, but it's going to make sure that these events are historic.
Right, because I guess I was going to ask, do you think the travel sector is ready right now if those things were to happen today?
We've got some work to do. I think we definitely can be ready. We've got to hand it to the Trump administration for making preparations for these events a priority. And if we can get it right now, then we are going to be more successful for the Olympics in 2028. We can be successful to get the Women's World Cup here. We've got another Olympics in 2034. We've got a decade of major events being hosted on U.S. soil. So we've got to get it right next year to ensure that the next decade is going to be prosperous for America.
Erik Hansen, really appreciate your time. Thanks for doing this.
Great to be here. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Thanks for listening. Hit the subscribe button right now so you can stay up to date on these news-making conversations about the issues impacting New Yorkers the most: power and politics.